Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Assalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. There are two worlds in which mankind lives in or exists within. One is his apparent world, which is this physical world where his actions manifest and all the knowledge he has gained from his surroundings come from, plus all his physical experiences, such as good times and difficult times, all reside in and recorded in this giant hard drive in his mind we call memory. This is his apparent world, apparent layer that did not exist but over time was developed, gained, and experienced by each person. Then there is the other world, which is his main world, the one within, or what he calls, quote unquote, himself, his soul, and his conscious, which is not apparent to others. But this is his main universe within which his individuality or character lives on. In other words, this world is what we call I or you. What makes me I and what makes you you. So you have two worlds, the essential one, which makes you who you are, then the second one, which is accidental, non-essential, advantageous, which happens or carried on according to what happens rather than design or inherent nature, just by events that we happen to experience. Now, what do we do in our prayer, salat? We say, let's leave behind this non-essential world which we have gained and built around us and let it go or putting it behind us by raising our hands up to both sides as we say Allah is great and start our prayer. Do not even think about anything we left behind. This is how at least we're supposed to do our prayers, even though we often may not have a full focus. We're supposed to let go of this earned material life for a few minutes as we pray and become ourselves, join our essential world, our soul. For a few minutes, no thoughts about my job, my children, my school, my relatives, my good times, my troubles, etc. Assuming we do this right, who are we in that moment? An entity who does not know physically where he came from and where he is at the moment, without any awareness or knowledge of the physical world. Why? Because all the knowledge man has gained comes afterwards. In his main essential world, he's a stranger and by himself, and one who is not part of this physical non-essential world at that moment. He then at that point turned to his creator, to his Lord, to his owner, the one who brought us here to this physical world and now is taking us toward the destination. In prayer, then we turn to him for a moment, talk to him, and acknowledge he's our creator and Lord, and that we are his servants and worship him alone. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ. You brought us here and you will take us from here. اهْدِنَا الصِّرَاطَ الْمُسْتَقِيمَ. Guide us to the right path. Indeed, right path is finding God. Then we bow down and prostrate to him while glorifying him and repeat it a few times before sending greeting and blessing to everyone as we end our prayer. Everyone who has the same belief have found God, got to know him, and connected to him the same way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We finish our prayer and return to our second world, this physical world. Again, we start thinking about the job, the spouse, the children, the troubles, events, and all other things that often preoccupy our thoughts. However, as we return to this second world, we have a light in our hand, one that we lit up when we were in the first world, as we connected to our Creator and Lord and made commitments to Him. With this light, we now must live in the second world. We must then make good on promises we made to our Rabb, those we made when we were connecting with Him in our prayers, about dealing with this world, with family, with community, with our workplace, and so forth. وَأَقِمَ الصَّلَاةَ لِذِكْرِي, and establish the prayer of my remembrance. Or رِجَالٌ لَا تُلْهِيهِمْ تِجَارَةٌ وَلَا بَيْعٌ عَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَإِيتَاءَ الزَّكَاةِ, by people whom neither trade nor sale can divert from the remembrance of Allah, nor from regular prayer, nor from regular charity. Now, living in this second world with all its preoccupations and hustle and bustle, not only does not take a believer away from remembrance of God, but also it becomes purposeful for him. A believer would not be like the one who has not lived the first world, one who has remained disconnected to his or her Lord, hence has no real purpose and goal in this second world, the physical world. He just takes it as it comes and follows his whims and desires, every which way they take him. Of course, these whims and desires, while temporary, can also have lasting side effects, ill effects. Hence, he has no idea, just lives because he lives. On the other hand, for you as a believer, as part of your belief, you know where you are and where your destination is. And while here, what you need to achieve, which is to reach your excellence, Kamal. No matter where you are and what you're doing, you do not forget to remember God and always have Him in your view and reach your excellence through obedience and submission to Him. Hence, you have a purpose, which is reaching your excellence, the humanity God intended for you. At the same time, building defenses against evil deeds, crimes, and sins. As a believer, you are God conscious or mindful of your duty toward Allah. Thus, the awareness by which you distinguish between right and wrong, moral and immoral. Now, of course, we know being a believer and a Muslim, one who submits and surrenders to God, is not easy in this second world or this physical world, especially now more than ever. We all know having faith, Iman, requires sacrifice and self-restraint. Otherwise, saying I have faith becomes just a slogan. إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله ثم لم يرتابوا وجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم في سبيل الله أولئك هم الصادقون. The believers are indeed the ones who have believed in Allah and His Messenger, and then did not doubt, but strive with their properties and their lives in the cause of Allah. It is those who are the truthful, which calls for action, not just words. It is these individuals who strive on the path of God as they go through this life, hence can call themselves believers. Of course, here striving is not limited to fighting wars, but rather striving to live as a true believer. Here are a couple of simple examples on how this spiritual world works on those with faith, iman, prepares them for this physical world as it is reflected in their actions in the second world, the physical world. So you want to live with faith and conviction. One day you park your car somewhere in a parking lot, and as you open your car door, it hits the car parked next to it and puts a small scratch on it. Maybe the parking slots are too small, or you did not pay attention as you were getting out, or maybe you should not have parked in that tight spot. Whatever the reason, you are at fault. Here you have two kinds of people. One who has no iman will say to himself, who cares? Then justifies, like people have done it to me, or it's just a small scratch, or if it's an expensive car they scratched, he will say, he's rich and soon will buy another one, or something like that. Later, the owner notices the scratch on his car and realizes how I have to spend out of my own pocket to paint this whole section. Then there is another kind of people, one who is faithful and has a covenant with Allah, has signed a contract with Him. He feels responsible. He will say, I have damaged another person's property, regardless of how small. Either I ask for his forgiveness or compensate him for the damage. He's not around and I cannot wait here for him, but perhaps I can leave a note with my phone number so he can contact me, and I should take his license number so if he does not contact me, I can locate him. So Iman has scales. One has none, one has a little, waits for 10 minutes, and if the owner does not show up, he will say, let's go. I waited and he did not show up. So his Iman lasts about 10 minutes. Yet another person, the third group, has much more and will not let go until he meets the owner and either pays for the damage or is forgiven. Iman means accepting responsibility, which the believer has committed to in his connection with God in his first world. Another example, let's say you are invited to an event at your workplace, which may be inappropriate, or invited to a gathering by a friend where there are few activities you do not feel appropriate or for you to partake. Some people may say, this is a big event and you must go. You cannot be absent. You may get fired. They will be upset, and other excuses. To them, the position and salary or someone's friendship, in the case of personal gathering, takes priority over everything, including their principles. Then there are those who will say, we will attend these events, but will not participate in any wrong activity. We just show up and sit aside in a corner quietly. Then there are the third kind who are tactful and will attend. They say, if people in that gathering do anything inappropriate, anything against my principle, I will speak out or protest, perhaps correct them or argue my position with reasoning. To them, their Iman has value. They will not compromise their faith, fearing if I say something or walk out, I'm gonna lose money, position, friendship, or the feast. Their courageous attitude is that even if I lose XYZ, Allah will provide me in another way. Yet there is the other group who will not attend at all. They are steadfast as well. They will say, you can fire me or demote me or break up your friendship with me. I will not compromise. They are admirable as well. Both this group and the third group are steadfast, truthful, and trustworthy. One is tactful, and the other perhaps not, and rejects going near anything that may be inappropriate, which is okay, but cannot be applied everywhere, so one must apply diplomacy at times. Another example, which may not necessarily apply to the Western world, but certainly applies to certain places around the world, including, unfortunately, Muslim countries, which is the prevalence of bribery, especially in various government agencies. A Muslim who is getting paid to do an official work, process some paperwork, or approve an application, takes a bribe to speed up the process, or worse, approve an unqualified person, or do something he's not supposed to do. In many of these agencies, your paperwork will just sit there in the bottom of the stack unless you go and pay off the official so he can move your file up to the top. In other words, he will not process your paperwork unless you pay him for something that he's already getting paid. Many people complain that unless we pay it, nothing will happen. So the problem with the one taking the money is clear. He's taking a bribe. What about the applicants or the clients? They are divided into different groups as well. First group says, I don't care. I pay it, so my work gets done. They don't think about the fact, with my payment, I'm promoting such corruption in the society. Furthermore, they do not think about those who do not have the money to bribe these officials. Who cares? I want my job to get done. These people do not want to act responsibly and mainly focused on the apparent physical world, the second world. Then there is the second group who thinks about solutions, such as writing letters, visiting the management, or at least wait a while. At the end, they may get their turn, and if they didn't, their patience will run out and eventually give in. They are steadfast for a few days or a limited time. Of course, there may be an emergency where one must consider the harms if he does not react, hence may be forced to pay in order to avoid a bigger harm. Then there is the third group who have Iman and true connection with the first world, who will not pay, saying, I'm not going to promote such corruption. Even if I can afford it, there are hundreds more who cannot. Who is going to take care of them? How would they claim their rights? Hence, will actually fight it, write letters to his superior, bring witnesses that the man has taken bribes, etc. Which all comes from someone who is active, who wants to put in the effort, one who has a sense of responsibility. It is this third group that is admired by the religious and non-religious folks. Ironically, it is this third group who will be admired by the secular Western society, who advocates no one is above the law and frowns upon bribery, much less those who do have faith. It is indeed this third group who should be government officials who administer all the paperwork, because they will have the Iman strong enough not to take bribes. If they need money, their salary is low, they will think of another way to supplement, perhaps by taking another job. These were just a couple of simple examples. You can apply it to other aspects of life, hence figure out the rest. So having Iman requires patience, tolerance, perseverance, and accepting responsibility. Not just saying I believe, yet when we encounter situations like these, sooner or later we give up and compromise on our principles, those which deep inside we know to be the truth. In conclusion, we have two worlds we live in. The essential one, where our true identity and individuality and soul lives on. Then the apparent physical world, which is accidental, adventitious, or transpired or carried on according to events that we happen to experience. Some people spend a lot of time in the essential world, the spiritual world. Some spend less, and some none whatsoever. In our prayer, salat, when done properly, we let go of this physical world as if we were newborn and immerse ourselves in the spiritual world. We say, it is only me and my Lord, my Rabb. No thoughts about my spouse, my children, my friends, my community, my job, my whole physical world. And say to my Rabb, my Lord, I found my way to you, and I renew my covenant with you. I am your servant and submit to you alone. In this world I have nothing or no one except you. I don't know the way. You hold my hand and guide me to that blissful life. Then you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah and end your salat. And you are back to the second world, the physical world. However, this time you are back with a light, a guiding light, which you gained in your spiritual world as you connected with your Creator, the one that facilitates your true living in this life. يا أيها الذين آمنوا استجيبوا لله وللرسول إذا دعاكم لما يحييكم. Oh, you have believed. Respond to Allah and to His Messenger when He calls you to that which gives you life, revives you. A person shows he or she is a true servant of God by his action and attitude, not just words. He or she is steadfast. This is the truth of Iman. Isn't it wonderful when one revives himself in his spiritual world and comes back to his physical world, avoiding its vices like jealousy, anger, injustice, arrogance, boasting, and discord, replacing them with virtues and nobility? In this second world, we do not want to deceive anyone, harm anyone, slander anyone, or betray anyone's trust. We want goodwill for ourselves as well as others. Aren't these kind of people happy, successful, and content with free conscience? Is heaven on earth anything but this accomplishment? As the Quran puts it, فَأَيْنَ تَذْهَبُونَ? Where then are you going? Is there any other world that offers such opportunity other than this spiritual world? Now, just as we go to the spiritual world all alone when we connect with Allah through our prayer, there will be a time when we leave this physical world and then we will be alone. And we will also face Allah, our Creator, alone. No one is going to accompany us in that journey. But we will again get closer to our Lord and Creator. وَلَقَدْ جِئْتُمُونَا فُرَادًا كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. It will be said, and you have certainly returned to us alone, as we created you the first time. Came to this world alone, and will leave alone. It is me and my Lord. He will then ask, how did you live up to the promises you made to me? How did you conduct your life in that physical world? It is indeed that moment and the true destination that follows we all need to think about, the everlasting, successful, and blissful life. We ask Allah to give us reverence and focus in our hearts and minds toward Him, so our prayers and all acts of worships have meaning and impact our lives in this physical world. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.